Manufacturing Podcast. I am your host, Dean Phillips. And with me today, I should, of course, mention our sponsor, which is the Precision Metal Forming Association, because, of course, the destiny of manufacturing is powered by Precision Metal Forming Association. I am Dean Phillips, and I am your host or guide for today. I guess I should move that out from in front of my face. What do you think? Because it's going to probably be over your stuff, too. So with us today from Wiegel, I have, of course, with me the president and CEO, Aaron Wiegel. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you, Dean. Glad to be here.
It is so fantastic to have you here on the show. What we do is we always try to make sure that one of the key things we ask right away is, what is your key takeaway for the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, the world's changing pretty fast, but the one thing remains consistent, and at least in our business and our industry, is that just recruitment, training, and keeping up to date with technology. Those are the key components for me to make sure that we continue our long time tenure of the company as we are a third generation business. It's a consistent mantra that and formula that's worked for us, and I think it will continue to work because it's a pretty simple formula, but you have to keep up to date with it.
Right. And when you say technology, can you elaborate what things you see as being important or vital to the sustainability of your company and companies in general? Of how do we go about making sure that that is viable for us to continue to develop? You know, we want to make sure that we have a way to do that. What is your ideas around that?
Well, I just broadly first say technology because that's always changing and the evolution of it is always improving, and you always have to stay up to date with it. You know, throughout my career and my time, co-working with my father and just learning what he did to get to where he was at and how he passed the baton to me. You know, we never really got excited in the past about visiting, let's just say, auctions of companies that failed, because even though you could probably get a good price for equipment and all that, the bottom line is a lot of times the reason why they did fail was because they did not keep up with the technology and didn't keep themselves competitive. And so even though we were attending them, a lot of times we walked away with empty-handed because we knew that it wasn't a good fit for us, because if we put the old technology in, it put us at an uncompetitive advantage. So just from an overall philosophy of long-term type of sustainability, I use the word broadly technology. Now, when it comes to technology today, you know, we're a company that has an emphasis in stamping, but we do tool and die design, tool and die making. We are into automation. We're into welding. We are looking and getting into molding. So when you look at all those different types of things, I mean, you always want to make sure that you're up to date on all that's being available to you. That's why it's important to always attend trade shows, you know, the FabTech shows, the IMTS shows. Even if you're not even in the market to be purchasing anything, you have to be up to date as for an executive like myself and my management team to know what is out there, so that if you can see what that is and implement that technology into your company and figure out the ROI on it, not only are you going to remain competitive, you could actually be above the fray. But it's important to always have those investments constantly into your system. Otherwise, you know, if you fall behind and you recognize that you fall behind, a lot of times it's probably too late. So we've emphasized our growth in the last 5 years, and we continue to emphasize it into automation. Automation is a key for us because although, you know, the myth is that it reduces or eliminates labor, it's quite the contrary on our part. It actually just the labor that we had, they were just upskilled in order to maintain the equipment that we're bringing on. So we actually we maintain all of our employees while increasing our capacity with the automation. So just as an example, in 2017, we were 0 robots. Today, we sit with 52. So it's a significant increase from what we were at before. Obviously, we always look at our press capacity and our press technology. You know, for presses for decades, it was always just if you buy a mechanical press and you maintain it, in theory, it should last forever, and it always maintained its value. Today, you know, over the last 10, 15 years, with the advent of the servo technology, which has really a game changer. It's one of the things that we're looking to always bring on into our business or replace with our old equipment, because there is a lot of advantages to it having that type of technology in place. So those are two main things. The very competitive part of our industry, which I think a lot of our fellow PMA members can attest to, is the tool and die making world. I mean, with the advent of foreign companies and foreign countries come into play with the decrease of labor, which has always been a pressure point in the United States. If you don't have the latest technology there, whether it's a wire EDM equipment, if it's a CNC equipment, because anytime I see a tool and die maker on a mill or just a grinder, I know I'm losing money right away, because that is technology that, although it's necessary in order for us to produce our tooling, you really got to move from the manual portion of making your components to the automated and CNC controlled equipment. And so, and with the CNC equipment, my God, I mean, those machines and that technology is just constantly improving over time. So it's really crucial that you maintain all that. So it's just one of those things where my brother and I and my sister we get really excited about trying to bring out new technology, because we know it just gets us maintains or stays one step ahead of our competitors. And so it's constant research, constant know-how, but the philosophy still remains the same. Always maintain or stay above the fray, because the competition is not far behind, and they're always looking to leapfrog you. And I do not want to be one of those companies that is putting out an auction flyer, because that's just a failure that's not going to be done on my watch.
Gotcha. And that's great to hear. And I really commend you for all the hard work that you're putting in there, because it isn't easy and it is a constant process. If you look at things, and you follow in some of the things like Deming's and other business type philosophies, the plan, do, check, act strategy. You have that's a circle for a reason. It's continuous. You're not just stopping. Okay, well, we're done. No, you're never done, because there's new technologies. I have a question for you regarding that. When you talked about the other types of businesses within your umbrella of your manufacturing, why do you think it is that in stamping we tend to be a little bit behind the curve when it comes to technology? We seem to react differently. Like, for instance, if you have a laser machine or cutting blanks, it seems like they are always updating their equipment every 2 to 3 years, because machines get more powerful, faster, able to produce more and get more throughput. Why do you think we struggle with that, and people are still running machines from the 1930s?
Well, that's one of the things I had mentioned earlier, is that the press technology advancements really never changed all the way up until maybe the mid '90s and late '90s, with the first advent of a servo press, which nobody wanted to touch because it was unreliable at the time, and it didn't have the speed as far as the strokes per minute that a lot of us were looking for. And from a mechanical versus servo at that time, the reliability of a mechanical press, as long as it's well maintained, it could last forever. So, on the flip side of it, if you look at a CNC machining center, or what you just had mentioned, a laser, there is constant upgrades and movement that everybody's learning throughout their time with that type of equipment. So that's why you're always flipping through it. I mean, I'll just give you an example with our wire EDM machines. I mean, we flip our wire EDM machines every 5 to 7 years, and just the recent upgrade that we had, just the way they have designed and built their machines and the way they program their machines, we saw a 30% reduction in our consumables, and a 40% increase in the speed of the wire travel. So
Wow.
our die making costs significantly dropped, just from shifting from one model to the newest model. But when it came to the presses back in, I would say before 2000, let's just say, if you bought a machine in 1995 and you bought a machine in 1985, there really wasn't that big of a difference. Now, since then, you had the servo technology. You also had really an explosion, I would say, in early 2000, or at least the beginning of it, to where you were implementing sensor technology into your tooling, which required you to have all the software and hardware systems that you need in the presses in order to put this type of technology into your tooling and into the press. So the press companies started to mimic what they were seeing in the other manufacturers of other types of equipment, and they saw the power in it. However, the stamping community wasn't keeping up to date with all the different technology that the stamping companies or the manufacturers were putting out there. So it was important, getting back to the PMA and why it's important to be a member of the PMA. Yes, the Minsters of the world and the ideas of the world, Komatsu's, they were having all their shows to try to show that technology, but the PMA is really the middle person to try to bring that community of press manufacturers with the consumers of the press manufacturers, the stampers themselves, and learn all that technology. I know, and my father back in early 2000, he started the Chicago Greater Sensor Group, and that was the idea of bringing all the Chicagoland stampers together and say, you know what, we all have to learn the sensor technology. The press companies are ahead of us now when it comes to that. Let's bring in speakers. Let's bring in people that are experts in that from Banner, from Keon's and all that. And let's learn together and rotate, our show and tell and try to share that technology. And that was really, we brought that community together through another local association, but it's an example of networking and the power of associations. And so, over time, we've always been a PMA member for a long time, but we've gotten a lot more involved with the PMA because it's a lot more in tune to what we do from a day-to-day standpoint. And that networking group and those seminars and that expert people that come into the group that can share that technology is what spurred the movement of actually bringing more technology to the fray. And that's why you saw the servo technology come into play. You have a lot of now internet connection interface with the presses that you can have real live data coming to your computer screen where that never existed before. So really the press manufacturers are seeing the benefit of what the other manufacturers have done, whether it's brake presses or wire or CNC or even water jet for that matter. And it's important to all of us as manufacturers to have the latest and greatest stuff. And just because it worked for decades in the past, it doesn't mean that we have to stand still on that. It's important that we keep constantly upgrading all of our technology. And that's why it's a partnership between really the stampers, I would even say the PMA and associations, co-oping and working with the manufacturer to bring all those communities together and really roundtable a lot of the things of what we look for, what we need, and how we all could partner up to help to improve the overall process.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic to hear that you're staying on top of it and also inspiring others. I think that's really important too, that your father to have that kind of forethought to say, hey, we need to start adapting these technologies and we need to have a group to kind of do that. I really think that's incredibly having a lot of forethought that I think is really a challenge for some people today. So that's great to hear. So let's take a trip in the Wayback Machine. Let's go back to your starting in this industry.
Sure. Well, I mean, I started off young. I will say that. I wanted to start working in around eighth grade because I wanted to go out on some dates and wanted to have some spare money. I applied for a job at Mrs. Fields Cookies, but when my dad found out about that, he was proud and said, "You know what? Instead of making cookies, why don't you start boxing parts?" And so he picked me up every day after school, and I was boxing parts and just getting used to what my dad's company did at the time, and throughout each year, throughout high school and college, I was being moved around in different facets of the company, whether it was you know working in the tool room, working in the production department, working in the front office, whether working in the engineering department, just doing basic things over time, but getting acclimated with all the different processes that my dad's company offered at the time. I attended a Northern Illinois University. I got my degree in mechanical engineering there, so I pursued the same path that my father did as far as the level of education that he felt was important to run a company like this. You can go one way and become a business degree, or you can go the engineering degree. Some will argue you should be a lawyer nowadays, but I went with the engineer path. I just always felt that knowing the nuts and bolts of what goes on back there, not only from training with all the equipment and all the experts back there, but also knowing the engineering front of it from studying the books and all of the different uh, sources that would teach me how to be a better engineer and improve our process, our technology, and our products. And then I would learn business over time, which is really what ended up happening. So when I graduated college, I got into the CNC machining center department. Quickly, there was some opportunities for me to become the production manager because of really my age and my background was in engineering, and my generation of from being brought up in really just the advent of the internet and the computer world. I mean, when I came to my dad's company and I started full time in 2001, I mean, you had older employees that couldn't even operate a mouse on a computer. So that was really my claim to fame, was bringing a lot of the computer technology into the company and integrating ERP systems and interconnecting all the production equipment, let's just say, into an interface so that you have live data and capturing data. I mean, we were way ahead of our time when it came to collecting all the information, from moving from a clipboard data entry to Excel sheets and live data from the computer. So I was able to marry my generation of computer technology with my dad's generation of tool and die and stamping technology, and that's what really catapulted us into another realm, because it improved the company, and it actually improved significantly our cash flow, because with the integration of the ERP system and our technology together, we were able to do a lot of better management, from scheduling, from inventory control, and just overall quality control, because everything was just moving faster. We were able to analyze data a lot quicker, rather than and taking clipboard data and just trying to figure it all out from data entry from a manual standpoint. And so I worked throughout the 2000s in the production department. I oversaw all of our stamping equipment. I oversaw our quality department. I oversaw our die maintenance department. And really, that really encompassed about 95% of our revenue. So my dad was in charge of the overall business, but he was focusing on new die building, and then handed it off to me, and I took it from there as far as the production side of it. And really, you had the 2008, 2009 crash, where we really had to hunker down and make some significant cuts, and that we had to just survive. And so during that time, we did pick up some significant work that really the cash for clunkers thing came out, and that really got us out of a jam. And when he saw how I was basically taking over the entire business and running with it, he saw it as the perfect opportunity to transfer me over into the president's role, but also from a financial point of view as well, because as many of our fellow stampers know, when you pass a company from one generation to the next, you're hit with a significant, we call it the death tax. It's a killer in any business. I mean, I always compare our business to, like, a farmer, let's just say. We all have millions of dollars of assets, but it's not in cash. It's in a farmer's situation, land. In our situation, it's our equipment. And so when you gotta get hit with a tax bill that, just because of our net worth the way it is, you have to come up with a lot of cash. So he evaluated the business at a low point in the last 10 years, and he saw me as ready and ready to go, because of my background throughout all my upbringing, throughout my eighth grade, high school, and college time that I spent working in multiple departments with my engineering degree, and then also with just the experience that I had working in various departments, running the production department, and then running the front office for a period of time, where my dad just knew it was time. So we did that. We took a small hit when it came to the taxes, and never looked back. I could tell you, from the time that my brother or sister and I took over in 2010, we're up over 800%. We went from one facility to four facilities, and I'm in the process of opening up a fifth facility in Mexico. We went from 48,000 square feet to 203,000 square feet today, and the Mexican facility is going to be around 52,000 square feet that we're going to be adding on. So we've had a nice run, and it's really because of the foundations and the fundamentals that my dad instilled in us. Just from a risk tolerance standpoint, cash is king philosophy, and doing calculated ROI calculations in order to make sure that your risks are low, and realizing your most important asset, and your most important asset is your people. And
Yeah.
that's with the training and how you take care of them, financially, and the benefits, and making sure that you're staying above market value, and making sure that they're the ones that run our equipment, they're the ones that run our front office, and we just give them the resources in order for them to be successful. So that to me is our most important asset, and that's why we're so successful, because we're a family owned business, but we really treat all our employees as a family, because that's just really how we get things done. I mean, for all those that are in major corporations, I mean, we all know the hierarchy it takes to get things done, and signatures that are in place. It just delays progress. And so with us, we just have family meetings, family dinners, and whatever impromptu meeting that we need to have, and just make decisions and go.
Good. I think that's a great approach to have. Now, you talked about the aspect of training. How what approach did you use for training your people, or knowledge transfer from your experienced people to your newer people?
Well, I'll use the tool and die makers as an example. Let's just say, throughout the history of our company, we were founded in 1941, the day before Pearl Harbor was bombed. So we've got three generations of Wiegels that have been running the company, and the foundational part of our business has always been the fundamentals and our high skill labor and our mid skill labor when it comes to tool and die making and press operations. When it comes to tool and die making, I mean, that is a very, very highly skilled trade that I really, really appreciate. I spent multiple years, high school and college, working on that portion of my development. And it's a very, very difficult skill set to acquire and to pass on. So, the natural thing would be to do is to hire people and just throw them with a journeyman die maker and just say go, and have a kind of an undocumented way of trying to train somebody. Well, we took a completely different approach. We've had multiple generations and multiple decades and multiple ownerships with apprenticeship programs, but Erica, Ryan, and I, my brother and sister and I, we really took it a step further. I was when we came out of the 2009 recession, I was frustrated because we were growing, but not as much as I want to. I had to take a time out in my office. I went and walked the plant, and it just dawned on me. One of the things I saw was just a lot of in my tool room, a lot of older men that was kind of scary, because in the past, whenever you wanted to replace or bring on a tool maker in our area in Chicago, you placed an ad and it was there for 2 weeks. You had the position filled. But coming out of the '09 recession, when really everything was kind of reset and people or took early retirements or just took other jobs, finding replacements or new tool makers was difficult. And then when you look at a 5-year forecast of the people that we had, I was going to be having a significant retirement parties in 4 to 5 years, and I was concerned. So I went back to HR and I said, "Listen, I don't need names. I just need people and date of birth." And my average age in my tool making department was 62.5, and I was in trouble. So
Yeah.
that started my whole apprenticeship training program journey, to where I hired an HR consultant. We worked together to develop a training program, and we also scoured and teamed up with an association to provide the night schooling needed in order to get a full-fledged apprentice to become a journeyman. Plus, I wanted the sticking point of retention, not only recruitment of young talent, but retention of young talent. And back then, the big push was everyone go to college. Everyone get that nice piece of paper called a diploma. So if you weren't providing something equivalent to that, you weren't recruiting and you weren't retaining. So we
Right.
not only did we partner up with the local association here to provide the night schooling, and then also come up with a 10,000 hour curriculum that put these apprentices throughout our company, working on various departments, working on various pieces of equipment. But I wanted that sticking point. I wanted that touch point. I wanted that apprentice to become the journeyman and say, you know what, in lieu of my diploma, this is what I have. And that's why we partner up with the Department of Labor. And we are now certified. Well, we got certified in 2012 with the Department of Labor to have the official apprenticeship training program and get certificates from the Department of Labor for tool and die makers, and now we have for CNC operators as well. And so they go through this vigorous 5-year program, 3 years of night school. Of course, the company picks up the tab and sponsors all the schoolings. That's one of the sticking points also that I'm really proud of really championing. And that is that, you know, if you have a 4-year degree from a college, let's just say, your bill back then, you could be walking out of college with anywhere between 160 to $250,000 in debt. Certainly that's different today, which I am disappointed that with the inflation and everything, that we can't drive down college expenses and costs, and that's what's just killing college kids. And that's the thing, you know, when you're now today walking out of college with 250 to $350,000 in debt, and that's very realistic. How do you recover from that? Which,
Right.
you know, I've always been asking that, but now I know I can see how that's being recovered. You can't. So unless you
Right.
have a bailout from your parents, or in this case, bailout from the government, you cannot recover from it unless you are studying a curriculum that's in engineering or in business or lawyers. So, but with tool and die makers, you come out of college at that same point in time with 4 years of experience versus the college student. No debt, a stable job, and then you have a certificate from the Department of Labor, which to me is equivalent to a diploma from a college. So
Absolutely.
we've got that program in place. We put through people every year, knowing that there's going to be drop-offs throughout that process, but also drop-offs with our current roster with retirements and or promotions, let's just say. That's the bedrock of our company when it comes to moving people around and promoting them to plant managers, or moving them to die designers, or moving them up to quoting and estimating, or project managers. That's the foundation of our business. We are completely engineer driven, or tool and die making driven, to move them into different spots. Even I'll even say automation. And we have sensor technology, vision systems, and automation people that were fundamentally tool and die makers. And that's
Yeah.
how we recruit, and that's how we retain, and that's how we remain competitive. So that's a
Out.
big part of our DNA when it comes to training.
Great job. Congratulations on all your hard work. Hey, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. We're out of time, so I want to give you a chance to let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Sure, you can find us at www.wiegel.com. That's Wiegel, formerly known as Wiegel Toolworks. We did switch to just Wiegel because of all the different things we do outside of tool and die work and stamping. So you can reach us on our website and you know, at sales@wiegel.com, and you know, you'll find everything you need to find right from there, and contact us, and we'll be in touch.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for your time, and I want to thank our audience for their time to watching this show. Please check out all the other things that PMA does and continues to do. Please watch over them, and you'll find a lot of informative information, including our workforce development and metal forming magazine, which of course is free to most of you in the industry. So thank you all.